Hey there, everybody. It is time for us to do the Pepper and Guy Day thing. And so I've got to click all of these buttons. Look at all these buttons I got. There we go. That's it. Man, there's so many things to click. It's like click, 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 click. Oh man, I've made this complicated. I'm my own engineer, though. It all works. Good morning, Pepper.
Good morning, Guy. Yeah.
Oh, well.
It's better. It's a Friday morning, so it's better than a Monday morning.
Absolutely true. Yeah. Although on Monday mornings I draw a comic strip, so that's always nice.
Hey, Brent.
Hey, Brent. Good morning. Welcome to the show. So, yeah, before the show started, we were talking about grandparents because I had found out that my grandpa was my dad's father, or stepfather, I guess it's stepfather, was born in 1901. And it never occurred to me because I always thought he was just not very energetic. But then I realized that he was already 72 years old when I was born, And so at that point in time, he was in his 70s, which means that by the time I was actually rolling around the house, he was 75. And, and so all of my life with him, he was over the age of 75, and it never occurred to me. It never did. So I just always just assumed he was low energy and slow. But I guess there was a time somewhere along the line where he was like all full of vim and vinegar and tootling around at full speed. It's just an interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to get into this, but you stopped me beforehand, and I was just like, because I was thinking about it, because I had the pleasure of having my great-grandparents, because my parents were very young. My dad was 19 when he became a parent, so his grandparents, 3 of them, had survived long enough for me to get to know them. My great-grandfather and I actually shared a birthday.
Oh.
So... and that was my grandfather, my grandfather's father, and he worked. I want to say both him and my grandfather, and actually I think most of my dad's side of the family, like, they worked right up to the year before they passed. So like, they were in their 80s.
You're right.
For sure, when they passed, and they were still working, and they do not retire well.
No, I think we've said this a couple of times. I think you and I aren't going to retire well either.
Yeah.
We're still going to have... That's not your desk there, Pepper. Somebody has realized that you have moved.
So, long story short, Bill has a new job. He's on a meeting right now, and I didn't want to interrupt like his work day, especially since this is like officially his second day into the new job. So we're coming from my couch.
I'm trying to align my... There we go. Maybe just a little bit more like that. I have this. It's it's a leveling bubble, and I'm going to glue it to the top of that thing probably this weekend. But the way I have built my new desk situation here, I've got one monitor up here and one monitor, my drawing monitor, right here, and the camera is behind them both, sitting right here. So it's actually kind of a pain to get in here. Yeah. Congrats.
I'll let him know. Oh, sorry.
Brent's like part of the family here. It's like we just like Brent's part of this whole culture that's going on, which is great. So
speaking of which, I've gotten overwhelmed with one of the groups that I'm part of on Discord. The project for MetaZoo, like, apparently overnight, like after last night, had 1,000 people on Discord.
Wow.
And yeah.
That's amazing.
It is. It's just very overwhelming.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah.
Excellent.
I mean, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. So,
Yeah,
but anyways,
yeah.
we'll segue back. We will segue back, I guess. Do you want to go first for what you did this past week?
I do. I just have to bring it all up, which is not that complicated. So actually, I probably did not save a version of. I did finish the inks on illustration 8. I didn't actually get to the point where it was fully done. I'm bringing up Clip Studio right now. Oops. The difference is that docking these monitors is not as easy as it looks. Docking programs now. I've got, because of Windows, I've set up my monitors so that they do this, but it's hard to dock to this bottom monitor now because it just keeps trying to put it on the top monitor. So let's start with what we were working on yesterday, and I'll share that. Share screen. Okay. It's like, did you know you can share screen? Yes, actually, I knew that I could share screens. Okay, so we did finish this piece, the ink on it anyway.
Cool.
And I'm actually pretty happy with this piece all around. It looks great.
It does.
So that one's done. We've got to do all the grayscaling for it before it can roll out the door, but that, and then, yep, and he's right. I got a Springs comic, which I will, once I get my mouse back. There's my mouse.
Which I've already read.
Yes, but I'll put it up here anyway.
For those who haven't read it.
Because everybody should read Springs comics.
Of course.
And this one, actually saved as a PNG, so we can put that up there. There we go. Let's zoom in a little. Which, this is totally a joke about the helicopter on Mars, because of course, as they still haven't quite gotten it flying yet, and they have been spending the last month just prepping it and prepping it and prepping it and prepping it, and I feel kind of like this is what's going on here between Rover and this little helicopter of his. They're just sitting there, ping, beep, ping, beep, ping, beep, ping, beep.
Yep.
So that's what I've got on these two. I got these two done, and that was cool. So I gotta say, I like Restream's gentle crossfades. And they do all these kind of cool crossfades, So what did you get done, Pepper?
Well, I got some headway on a lot of things, but I haven't officially gotten anything done. Except for 6 sketch cards for MetaZoo. I got done this week, which is usually double what I normally have to do a week. They officially close as of today. They're closing. I'm not taking any more, but yesterday was officially when I had to announce it, because someone came in and was like, "Hey, I want to buy 5 cards." Okay. And so it was like, all right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. And I basically was like, all right, well, let's do this. What cards do you want? And what do you want on these? So I took everything down, and I have that for, if I can get to it today, that would be great. But again, it's one of those things of. Um, the other thing is I have not found my coloring yet, so I need to do the coloring palette today for the new card for Earth Cow.
Right.
And I was supposed to start making Mayan blue pigment paint for our friend, mutual friend, Raph, who's been on the show with Guy and me on occasion. I did not do that.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I did not do that this week because Monday was kind of very hectic for me.
Because Monday was a Monday?
Yeah, Monday was Monday. I did send you. I'd sent you the Atomic Jupiter thing for the new script. And
I was going to ask you about that.
And I do want to talk about that, but I'm going to talk about the Mercy Brown script first. Mercy Brown's the script I'm writing for an anthology for a series of TV episodes within a comic. So they're 6-page comics each for Fantastic Geographic. I am writing I got the first page done, and now I'm like not re-looking at the first page, but now I'm like thinking maybe I shouldn't do what I originally had originally had thought for the second page intro to kind of go into it. But right. I did write all the page descriptions so that I can flow better with the scripting, with the paneling, and all of that stuff.
Right.
Sorry. Make my hair all poofy. I'm
trying to figure out why I'm so red.
Yeah.
I'm so red. It's like.
Well, anyway. I had to turn off pink light so I wouldn't be so pink. So.
Yeah, it's this light right here that's being very red, and I'm trying to figure out what its problem is.
Yeah. So Atomic Punk Jupiter, I have not started writing the script yet.
Okay, so you want to write the script. I get that.
Yeah. I
was very confused. What you sent me and what we talked about last week was very confusing.
Yeah. So for those of you who are watching out in Streamland after the show has aired, when someone made a comment on my Instagram that, hey, this looks like it's Adam Punk.
Right.
And so I took that and I was like, all right, well, I started looking into it and I really liked it. And essentially it's technology all based in the atomic age of Golden Age comics. And I really do like that time era of science fiction. So I guess from your standpoint would be, if I'm actually doing this all correctly, because I have like basically a captain reporting to a president.
Directly? And that's the thing. That's the thing about Adam Punk is it doesn't. You're making Buck Rogers. Somehow Buck Rogers kept answering to the president too. So that seems like it fits the genre, even if it's not legit to the military. It still seems like it's sort of, that seems fine to me.
Yeah. The other thing is I guess what it is for this type of series, is it easier to have your characters and stuff actually be created like look wise and feel wise to help inspire the story more, or just write the story and then that will come later?
Right.
And I mean, I do like this, but like, I honestly, like, I don't know if, I think I'm a little over my head.
No. Okay.
I think I'm just like it is a definitely new genre for me to attempt to write in,
Have
especially
you?
since I haven't been writing I haven't been writing for very long either, and I've never really considered myself a writer.
Right.
Um, yeah. So I'm just getting the nerves are just getting to me the most.
Yeah, I was just say, what you might do is write it, and then so one of the things I do when I have a bad case of nerves is, and follow me to the end of this thought process. I write it knowing that I'm going to throw it out, and then I'm going to write it twice. Knowing that takes away the stress because you know the first one you're just going to toss away. It's going to be gone. So just write it. And then at the end of that first one, you have a choice. You either can keep that first one. If it actually turned out to be pretty good, you can keep it. Or you can actually say, well, here's what I learned. I learned that I like the way that these two characters are interacted, so I'll keep that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that this character keeps saying bazinga every time. I'll keep that. But I'm throwing the rest of it away and I'll just restart it, knowing now that these two characters are going to play off of each other and this guy's going to say bazinga. So that's something I do to just get the stress to go away.
Yeah.
Because that way, I just plan. Then each script takes 2 passes. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Somebody had said that was one of the big differences between modern writing and previous writing that had occurred in the 30s, 40s, 50s. Is with the advent of word processors, we write something and then we edit it directly. Whereas before, a writer would have to write something and then scratch all kinds of stuff out on their typing and then put it next to them, and then they would rewrite it. And when they did rewrite it, they would end up evolving the stuff. They would evolve the scene, or they would change the way these characters would go. So the first draft to the second draft was very dynamically different.
Mm-hmm.
In the 40s, 50s, 60s, when you had a typewriter and that's all you had, and you had to keep doing new drafts by writing all 50,000 words over and over and over again,
Yeah, I mean, I unfortunately was one of those kids that got the lucky word processor, and I'm not talking word processor on the computer. I'm talking like literally it was a word processor.
Sure.
It was an automatic typewriter.
Yeah. And that's one of those things that my first novel was written on a typewriter. I mean, it really was. I literally got my mom's Selectric before I got my first computer. It was 1980, I want to say 86, maybe 87. And my buddy and I at school decided we were going to spend spring break and we were going to write a novel and see who could get there first, get to the end of it. And he actually had a computer, but I didn't at the time. So I had my mom's Selectric, and I literally locked myself in my closet so that I wouldn't be distracted. And so I just sat there and typed and typed and typed. And I remember I had a yellow like bug bulb in my closet, because I didn't want white. And so I just put my table in there and I put my chair in there, and I got myself, like, all I did was come out to go to the bathroom and go downstairs to get good morning, Donald.
Good morning.
Go downstairs to get more food and stuff like that. But I worked for the entire week and wrote 62,000 words. And I was so proud of myself for passing the 50,000. It was my first NaNoWriMo. And I didn't even know I had to do that,
Well, and it took you a week instead of 30 days.
Right. But I also locked myself in my closet. But I didn't have anywhere else to go over spring break. I didn't have anything else to do. It was the last of my, junior high school spring breaks before I got a car. So there was I couldn't go anywhere without, and mom still had to work every day. So she wasn't going to be able to drive me anywhere. I couldn't go to my friends' houses or anything like that. The only time I could visit anybody was the weekend before and the weekend after. So, I totally get it. And it was kind of cool. But either way, it's kind of a. I actually really think so. The TLDR on this is I almost am tempted to say, write your first draft of this, then print it out, and then delete the file.
Well, I don't think I'm going to delete the file. What I think of
you don't have to be that dramatic.
Yeah, I don't have to be that dramatic. What I think I'll do is I'll just write it. I have some really good friends. One of them is my editor for most of everything I have done ever. And I think I'll just send it off to her going like, hey, read this for me, please. Just tell me what you think. This doesn't necessarily have to be edited, and this is definitely not going to be the final draft. So just tell me what you think and be honest, and I'll go from there. And I probably will select a few other people, not just her.
Right.
That's the great thing about having some old like friends that from when you were a kid, because it's like you could sit there and they know your creative process from a very early age, so they grew up with it. They know it very well, and
that has good points and bad points.
Yeah, I mean, some of the bad points is they can be brutally honest with you, like, hey. No, this is completely out of character for you. Why are you doing this?
Well, and I actually think that's a good point. The bad points that I usually find when I have, like, if I were to give my scripts today, which I have done, to that same buddy whom in late junior high, early high school, we both decided to challenge each other to writing. If I give him my stuff today, the biggest problem we've got is he starts with, wow, you've grown so much in your writing, So he remembers all of my old stories and where I was in the 1980s. You know what I mean? And he remembered, and he's looking at that, weighing it with today's writing and going, well, gee, you've gotten a whole lot better. So he's coming in with sort of an expectation.
Yeah.
It's better for me to hand a script over to Raph, or something, because Raph, I've only known him for about 4 or 5 years. His entire history with me is 5 years long, and so, it's, I feel like, I mean, exactly, Donald, he's read some books for friends. But I mean, so I think I like to give two people, have two people pegged, one who has only known me for a short amount of time. Like, you would be a good editor for me, and I would be a good editor for you on a catch, because we've only known each other now for 1.5 years, 2 years. This is perfect, because you don't know what my writing was like in 1986.
No, and that's the funny thing is my friend who's an editor is also she's a writer, and she's a very good one. And you're right. Like, if she sent me something to read, I'm very open and very honest with my review of what she sends me.
Sure. And
the thing is like, she's like, she made the comment one time, like, every single time I send it to some people, like to certain people, I get, this is great, or I get a very, very little feedback. You give me a novel back.
Right.
Like, you have like 2 pages worth of content. And the thing is it's like a lot of the characters that she writes about today, she wrote about when we were kids.
Right.
So I have grown up on and off again reading this story that she's had for a very long time. And I honestly, like, I think at this point it's one of those things of, I can definitely tell when we are at different points in our life.
Yeah.
Through her writing, because I do remember what it was like in high school and how it was driven and everything like that. But on the other side, as adults now, it's slightly different. Like, I notice like little things that I don't think she intended to have in there and stuff like that, because I have seen it evolves so much. And I think that can be a negative and a positive at the same time.
I agree.
Because it's like I can see stuff in this writing that I don't think she realizes I see. I'm going to comment on it, and I'm going to follow it up with, hey, if you want to change this, go right ahead. But this is on how it came across to me.
Right. And I think that's another very important thing, because Donald's talking about honesty and truth, which is true. But I've had a lot of, there's a certain type of writing that's useful, because it's not as useful if you say, I don't know, this isn't as good. That's not useful. But if you say, I really didn't like Bob, the main character, he rubbed me the wrong way. Every time I read his words or anything like that, they made me feel small or something like that. That's useful. That's useful information, because either A, I wanted you to feel small as the writer. I wanted you to feel small. So that means perfect. It hit exactly like I was supposed to. Or Bob's supposed to be this really good guy, and oh crap, I've made him, I've got to go back and fix Bob, but it gives me data that I can use. That's a data point I can actually use.
Yeah. It's kind of like, what is it? It's kind of like if a character is described in one paragraph as, yes, they may have a lot of money, but they are humble.
Right.
But then in the next, like 2 paragraphs later, they're acting like a spoiled, rotten brat.
Right. Then you can say Bob's out of character in this part, and I don't feel like he fits his dynamic. Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's a critique. That's like a professional critique right there. Yeah. Right. I mean, like, hey, you botched Bob. He's coming across wrong in page 2, when in page 1 you said he was this way, and in page 2 he's going against his character. But even then, you could be doing that intentionally. I was just having this discussion with people online about, somebody had said something to the effect of, one of the reasons they were complaining about Star Trek Picard was that it broke canon. This is a buddy of mine who's with the Synthaholics podcast. I said, I didn't see it breaking canon. He's like, well, yeah, I mean, in Measure of a Man, in season 2 of Star Trek, Maddox was against robots, and the Federation agreed that robots were living creatures. Then Picard has them flipped. And I'm like, first of all, that was a military decision. In episode 2, the military decided that. Military has also decided that planes can fly at 100 feet, but you're not going to see a 737 in your backyard. Because what the military decides doesn't affect us, the rest of us. The military has also decided you couldn't be transgender for a long time. You couldn't be homosexual for a long time. The military decided women couldn't fight for a long time. There was a lot of things the military decided that our culture went against, or vice versa. And I said, but that's a change. And I felt like the writers in Picard intentionally did that to illustrate cultures washing back and forth on concepts and ideas.
Not only that, I've watched the first season of Picard, and they describe the reason why synthetic life forms were there was like a C-SPAN on the technology. And the main reason why it worked, and it makes sense.
But it's the same thing. It's like, I feel like
rogue.
Right. When I listen to interviews with Michael Chabon, who's the guy who showruns Picard, it's clear he spent hours and hours and hours on Memory Alpha, combing through information from all 700 episodes of Star Trek to come up with this evolved thing. So I don't think any of it was lazy or lackadaisical. Public opinion, well, that is also true. Donald's commenting that public opinions have guided what was acceptable in the military. Also true. I mean,
that's for sure.
But even with that, the Equal Rights Amendment was 1975, and women were finally allowed into combat in 2013. So it takes the military a while to get through these things sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like me and Bill talked about starting our family a lot sooner than we had. And when we were living in Florida, technically, we wouldn't have been allowed.
Right. That wouldn't be legal.
Yeah, that wasn't illegal. That wasn't legal until after we moved out of the state.
Yep.
So
you still have problems, even though we have culturally, we had decided in the 90s-ish, give or take, that it was silly to be penning all these things to homosexuals that had nothing to do with it. And we had, as a culture, moved past that to some degree. It still had repercussions that just kept echoing for another frickin' 30 years.
Well, I mean, the biggest one that we do is I know I have nothing that I can pass on pathologically to anyone else. Yeah. And I am an O negative blood type.
Oh man,
I cannot donate blood.
Yeah.
And that right there, that's like,
all I've got to say, Pepper, is just stop being negative, man.
I know, right?
If you'd be more positive, it'd be more useful.
If I was O positive, this would never be the case. No,
right?
It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm married to a man. No,
right.
But yeah, like there's a few people in my family who are O negative, and I'm one of them. And you would think that people would ask for me to donate blood, and I would love to donate blood, but I can't.
But you can't.
Because there's still a ban.
Yeah.
On
which
me.
Is such a weird thing.
Yeah, and that's actually from the 80s.
It is.
It has not changed. It will not. There are people who are trying to get it to budge, but like in order for me to donate blood to save someone else's life, I literally have to wait and be celibate for a full year.
Right.
How am I supposed to prove that?
You could just say it. I mean, unless they got a camera in your bedroom, nobody's ever.
Yeah, I know, right? But
although for me, I'm sitting here looking at this, going, donating blood is a gift. That's what we do to be kind to our society. And so, if you're going to sit there and put all of these, well, we're going to look side-eyed at you. Well, then fine. You don't get my gift. So there. Yeah. I mean, I could totally not blame you for just like, okay, fine.
Yeah, Donald makes a very good point too. Women were in combat during World War II.
Well, they were, but they weren't allowed. That's a difference. Because of course, just like everybody, once the fur starts flying, everybody just does their thing. They do the job. Doesn't matter whether you got boobs or not. You do the job. And so, there were some seriously hardcore women resistance fighters in France too. And they were epic. And because of course the reality is it doesn't make any difference whether you're male or female. It doesn't. You just do the job. Mm-hmm. But we had this band, this lock. It's the same thing. What your private life is.
I think though that what you're talking about is combat wise is different than what intelligence combat stuff is what Donald brought up. Yeah. Combat, we're talking like out on the front lines with guns pointed, and you are specifically targeting other people so that you can, you're going into a place and there's shots fired. Are there female snipers? Yes, I'm wholeheartedly agree. I do believe that they are. The reason,
Yeah.
okay, so if they have to worry about,
And Donald's
if
right.
they have to worry about that, yes, you do have to worry about that. But here's the deal: how about you train your guys not to do it?
Right. Well, and that's back to the whole thing. I mean, that's kind of on the I mean, because really, honestly, one of the counter arguments I have always heard was it's not like they don't rape the men. It's not like they don't abuse the men. It's, you know what I mean? It's like that happens too.
Yeah,
Combat's
but if
just
you're talking
ugly.
like you're talking about the forces going up and saying that they're doing that, there are self-defense tactics that you can train women
Sure.
for those
Just like you train men.
situations.
Mhm.
And you can also train the men that are around them to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah. I mean, the
one of
enemy
the
can
things that
capture
has
anyone.
happened, one of the things that's happened in modern warfare is there is now an escalation of power, right? You treat my soldiers right, we'll go and do this. But if you don't want to treat my soldiers right, that's fine. We will pull all of our armies out just like you want. And then this is my friend Merv. He's going to visit you.
Yeah.
Right. And that changes that immediately changes the dynamic in the power dynamic there. They'd rather be nice to your soldiers at that point. You know, it's like, well, this could all be glass. I don't know if I want that. You know.
I mean,
So there is
I think the whole entire world is pretty much at this point made of glass. Like there's a bunch of stuff that we
future glass.
can do. Yeah, it's future glass. It's basically it's one of these things of, yes, there's like a lot of what ifs, but you have to prepare. If you are preparing a male soldier and a female soldier or a trans soldier to go into battle, you need to prepare them for all manners of battling.
Right. I mean, I think in the end, it's all still going to mean the same thing, which is it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. If you get captured, your life sucks. And that's just the way it goes.
I mean,
And
POWs
it's part of, it's part and parcel of being in a war. You know, because it's just as bad for mom to die as it is for dad. So you have to put in all of the same rules that you would for putting all the brothers in, you know, the Saving Private Ryan rules, those kind of things. You're just going to have to, you know, this is up to the military to figure out the appropriate way to handle it. I've actually been writing these rules into Bellatrix Rising. You know, what are the rules for families deployed? You know, what are the rules for all of these things? What are the rules if you get captured and you know it's not going to be a pleasant experience? You know, what are the rules for that? What, you know, it's because it's you know, it's not that Donald's wrong. He's absolutely right. I mean, bad things happen. You come back with PTSD. Soldiers who are POWs came back with PTSD. Women being abused in combat are going to come back with PTSD as well. The actual ultimate answer is don't have wars. You know?
I would love to not have any wars. Right? I would love.
And like, I would too, but unfortunately, human nature is human nature.
Yeah. The thing is it's super weird, but as we do have laws of what you can and cannot do during war or wartime for countries.
Yep, Donald's making good points about the kid fighters in Africa. And the toys that were made for bombs.
Yeah. I mean, the toys made into bombs in Vietnam, those were probably some of the most horrific pictures I had ever seen in my life. Fun fact.
Excuse me.
My father, being the shocked person he is, bless you.
Apparently, I'm allergic to this discussion.
Basically, he showed me, like, he found pictures from like Vietnam and Korea and stuff like that. to kind of show an in-depth thing of what exactly happened.
Yeah.
I think some of them were from my grandfathers. My mom's father was in Korea, and and stuff. So, but the weird thing is he would show us these pictures because he was when I was very young, he was a homicide detective. And like if he caught us riding on the handlebars, I mean, seriously, like
Yeah,
he would
he'd show you
show
pictures
us,
of dead kids.
he would show us pictures of dead kids in the same situation where they were riding on handlebars. So,
Gotta
yeah,
admit,
my childhood was
there
filled with a
is a
lot of
certain
gruesome
logic
sights.
to this that I can't deny.
Yeah, I mean, it's super like it's horrifying. It's
Yeah.
horrifying, but like I had seen these images like since I was a kid. And the Geneva Geneva Convention was a good thing, but it did not help everyone.
No,
Definitely for sure.
but it helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everything. We get a little bit of a push with each one of these, and things get a little bit better each time. And we can't deny the fact that, bad things continue to happen.
Yeah.
But the little bit that we move forward is always good.
Yeah, I think we'll just have to move forward and hope for the best, and hopefully at some point the world will be at peace.
Yeah. I actually am kind of making this story that I'm working in to be more like that. The first phase of this story is the tale of a war, like the end of a war, where they're trying to move to a different footing,
Yeah.
and trying to move to a different position. That's what I'm hoping for. So, because I agree, I think there comes a point where you've got to like say we're going to get over all of this stuff. We're going to stop it.
Yeah. You see it in Star Trek, like the very first series that ever came out.
Yeah.
And then you also I think the most recent example that I saw of it was on the Orville, where they like literally sat for like 11 days straight watching a planet go in and out of different realities.
Right.
And basically they watch this planet evolve, like instantaneously over that day, over that 11-day period.
Right. Well, that's like Voyager is one of my favorite Star Trek episodes ever.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. However, the Orville one, that was completely based off of the command "Do not interfere." But oh,
So more of my stream connection issues. I kept getting dropped over and over and over. So I think I'm having a problem with my card or something. My wireless card is a little teeny chip this big that plugs into a USB port. I mean, it's teeny tiny. It doesn't even have an antenna on it. And I'm like, well, okay, but I feel like you're not actually getting to the router. I actually think I'm going to the problem I've got is that there is a cable outlet right here, but it got clipped. So I have to reconnect all of the 70 ohm cable wherever it got clipped somewhere, and then I'll have cable up here, which is great because then I can put the modem, like I could affix it to the wall right here, or something. Just put it right here. That'd be great because I'm like, oh, having problems. Reboot the modem, it'd be right here. And then I physically put a Cat 5 into this, but right now, in order to get the Cat 5, it's in the living room downstairs. I'd have to go out the house, down the side of the wall, come back in. There's lots of drilling through walls and,
exterior walls,
exterior walls and interior walls and all kinds of crap.
A lot of
Cat
stealing.
5 in here.
Yeah, Georgia Attack Cat.
Yeah, right.
That's like the first place my mind went to as well, Donald. Like, I'm like thinking, like, if he put that on the wall, George would try to sit on it, and then it would fall off.
I've got this great picture. We're building a bookcase downstairs in the living room to put all of our games, and so we went and bought like MDF board. I mean, like really solid board. And we've got it all stacked up against the wall right now. And George keeps sitting on it on the smaller pieces. So it's really weird looking from the side because you can't see that it's a lip. So it just looks like he's Billy Goat sitting there, like some kind of weird Billy Goat just hovering on the side of these boards. And it's so weird. It's so strange. He's such a bizarre little cat.
Welcome to the world of cats.
I know. So his birthday is going to come up here pretty soon.
Yeah, that's right.
He was born on May the 4th. So, he's a Star Wars cat. So May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
And actually had an interesting, we had an interesting discussion last night about that because my kid doesn't want, because he's a Star Wars nut, he doesn't want his May the 4th to be corrupted. So he's trying to see if he can't convince us to change George's birthday to May the 6th so that it'll be on a different day. And I'm like, no, that's the day he was born. And my wife was like, well, we don't know that for sure, do we? And I'm like, no, he was born at the Cat Care Society. So, they know exactly what day he was born.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Donald's birthday is Monday.
Monday. Well, happy birthday, Donald. If you join the show Monday, we'll I don't know what we'll do. I'll draw you a cake. I guess that's the best I could do. I'm like, I don't know. I have to come up with something for you though, because it's your birthday.
I have a tendency to send gift memes for people's birthdays.
Revenge of the 5th. Yeah.
I was thinking, I was trying to, you were saying the 6th.
Okay,
so I was trying to do something with the 6th, but it didn't come up. But Revenge of the 5th is actually pretty good.
Revenge of the 6th would work too.
Yeah.
Part Jawa. Yeah. Okay, here's where I wanted to talk about something.
What's up?
So I'm going to do this. We're going to... So I have the Miyazaki palette here.
Ooh, yes. Okay.
This is the full Miyazaki palette as by the Ghibli Museum, including down here at the bottom. You can see the 3 colors that were depreciated and pulled, and I highlighted the 3 that were replaced right here. So the Viridian Hue, the Bamboo Green, and the Lavender are the ones that originally were Permanent Green number 3, Cobalt Green Yellow Shade, and Violet Gray, which looks pink to me. I don't know.
It is 10 parts. It is 10 parts, 1 pink color, and 1 dot. 1 part of Mineral Violet.
So why do they call it gray? It doesn't look like a gray at
Because
all.
the Mineral Violet and the pink is a cool pink, and the Mineral Violet is a warm purple color. So when the warm and the pink meet, even though it's like a tiny speck compared to the rest of the pink, it turns it a slight gray color.
Gotcha. So what I did do, though, and it's kind of hard to see. No, that's a cat. Where's the enlargener? Where's the embiggener?
There it is.
That makes it full screen. That doesn't help. I need to embiggenate this. I can't embiggenate it. Oh well.
That's fine.
What I did do with this was over here, and it's hard to see. I put the RGB values for it. So these are
Oh, okay.
this last one on this side is the absolute value. So what I would do is I took this like this part right here, which it's kind of hard to see where my mouse is, but I took the middle one, which has the block where somebody just solidly painted in the square, and there's an absolute value version or a button filter, I guess, in Photoshop, which turns everything in that block to the absolute median value.
Yeah.
So the block on this left side over here, you can just click with a eyedropper tool and pick up that color.
Okay.
But what I also put here was its RGB value and its web value.
Oh, that's actually very good.
So we've got like all of that on here. I'm willing to give this to you, obviously. Pepper, I'll just email it to you. I mean, it's big. It's a big file because you can see you can't read these RGB values or anything like that, but you actually can on the actual picture. You can just zoom in.
Yeah.
It has the correct resolution.
So I can tell you which colors I actually have. In which case, I've recreated all three at the bottom on my own palette. And then for the colors I don't have, like based off of what I'm looking here, is I can tell you right now I don't have like 7 of these colors.
Right.
But I have everything else.
And like I said, my goal has been to try to come up with a good portable palette that goes with me places.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't need to necessarily have the exact same shade as Crimson Lake, or whatever. I just need a sort of pale, darker red, Well, but you were talking earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
No,
you were talking earlier about the Maya Blue. And I was wondering if that's anywhere near any of these guys.
Mayan Blue, like it is kind of like, okay, so it is on the darker side at certain points. There's only one company that's producing the blue color at this time. Mayan red, Mayan yellow, Mayan green, Mayan turquoise, Mayan pink, all of that stuff. Basically, the company that created them went out of business in 2018.
Oof.
So there's no more, like, you have a hard, like, if you try to find these pigments, it's basically like, I think, Pigment Tokyo, I think, is the only one that has like the original pigment. Otherwise, other people started manufacturing like the blue, or like they made a genuine version of it. Mayan blue is kind of like Egyptian blue. Mm-hmm. It is a blue color that was created back in the days of the Mayan pyramids. You find this pigment pretty much on a lot of artifacts. And it was created. It was not something. It was created by the Mayans.
Right.
Kind of like Egyptian blue was created by the Egyptians.
Right.
The color, though, it has some variations. So you can get it dark, like almost like a Prussian blue, mm-hmm. but then it can go light. But it is a cooler blue. So it's not going to have like...
It's somewhere between that Prussian and the ultramarine.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhere like that.
Maybe the cobalt blue.
Maybe a little bit darker.
Darker than cobalt blue, yeah.
A little bit, just slightly.
Yeah, because the ultramarine is more purple, and the Prussian blue is more gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
And also at the same time, like, again, like the paint that I have to make, all of that paint is going to a specific person. I'm not able to keep any of it. So
So in
think
other words, don't try to piggyback on Raph on this one.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. I can do
Yeah.
that.
I literally went out and I bought like, oh yeah,
Egyptian blue is beautiful.
yeah. I actually, if I could afford it, like there's a person who created, this, so they found an artifact. It was a painter's palette
Mm-hmm.
from Egypt, and they found a little bits of paint from here and there inside of it, and someone recreated it,
Mm-hmm.
and they put it up for sale, and like I would totally want to get it, but I couldn't afford it at the time. But they sold out. I think they sold out of the dot cards, which would have given me like just a little bit of a hint of what the palette would have been like.
Right.
Egyptian blue was obviously on there, but like there was other like pigments that that we still use today that were in that palette.
Right.
It boggled my mind a little of how much some things just don't change with paint.
Right. It is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think that technically there's no color that we couldn't possibly have.
Hmm.
You know, technically.
My question, hold on. Was this made by you, or is this made
by me? I mean, so somebody else did these chips.
Oh, okay.
And then I made this picture because I had to go find things. Like the top part was done by one specific lady who had gone there and gotten the palette and then put it out on her blog. The bottom three, though, were from somebody else who had gotten the entire set and had said these are the three colors that are depreciated.
Was that
so I spent
Matthew Abronowitz?
Probably. I didn't think about writing it down until after I had already done it, because for me, this was just going to be a thing that I was going to do for myself. What I would like to do is make a 24 palette, so to speak, just so I can have, and it doesn't have to be exactly these. It can be anything. I mean, like I said, this doesn't have to be specifically Holbein colors. These could be. That's why I did this specifically, was so we could just go find, 24 of the, $1.50 a bottle paints or whatever to start. That mimic these, and then move to the Holbein colors that will cost me $700 to get the whole set.
Well, I can tell you right now, like, really check on Amazon, because like I got a steal of a deal, man. I got a steal of a deal to get my Holbein paints from them. I mean, and I don't mind that they're 5mm tubes, because you don't need a hell of a lot. That stuff lasts a good while.
Sure. Well, excuse me. And once you get started, once you have the first 24 colors in your palette and they're locked in, then, you're not spending a lot to replace those tubes. If I happen to, all of my paintings always seem to use Prussian blue, then when I run out of Prussian blue, I buy a new tube of just Prussian blue. You know what I mean? I don't have to go buy the whole set again. But the thought here was that I was going to start with these. If I had these guys, then I'd be able to at least narrow it down to the colors that I know I'm going to need. And so that's really kind of what we're after here, is just kind of getting to that stage where I've got just the starting palette going.
Yeah, like for me, like the one thing that I actually say, like, that I don't like about Miyazaki's palette, and this is just my personal preferences, this is not saying that it's a bad palette. I don't like using ivory black often. Like, it's a very piece by piece type of situation that I use it. So there's another gray that they have that I substitute for that one specifically if I were to create this palette, because I don't use black.
Right.
Like I use
I feel like you have to go quite a bit to lighten it up to not make it super dramatic for those black.
Also, their ivory black, for people who are vegan and haven't researched this, their ivory black is basically charred remains of bones of animals.
Right.
So a lot of people don't realize, like, ivory black and ivory white, that those are literally ground up bones. So there you go.
How many people eat their paints, though?
I know exactly. I know what you're saying, but there's always people who are trying to find.
No, I think that if you're vegan, you have a problem with society processing animals.
Yeah.
So in general, which though I'm making this snark joke of how many people eat their paints, the truth of the matter is I appreciate and respect the concept of we don't abuse animals, you know. So
there's also there's also another reason why you don't eat paints is Holbein has a nice little message that says, "Please do not ingest."
Yes.
And also, if you get any genuine cobalt colors, that can actually kill you eventually because the cobalt is a poison.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of other. There's a lot of pigments that basically, like, I think I touched base on it last week, where they touch your skin, it hurts you. They get into your lungs, it hurts you. Making paint has been a definite eye opener of what I want to use and what I don't want to use. And I've even found a Parisian green that's arsenic free. So that should tell you something right there. Like, I had a search.
Somewhere there's arsenic.
I had a search for one that basically Parisian green or Paris green is what they used to use for arsenic green.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they renamed it, obviously, because they didn't want the arsenic in the name. But yeah, pigment talk is, I can talk about pigments all the time. So
to bring us back to Target here.
Yeah, tangent.
I'm looking to build a palette of these guys, and it doesn't have to be Holbein. So I just want, a dark red, a pink, a very light pink, bright pink, apparently, an orange, an ochre, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can definitely get some of those colors in higher end student grade stuff if you need to as well. I know that there's a lot of beef for a lot of people, like not wanting to use student grade for full time or full work. But there's this nifty thing called a UV spray coat.
Yeah.
It detracts your student grade paints from being lack of pigmentation. But nowadays, most artist grade paints, most student grade artist paints, and I say student grade artist paints because there's a difference between student paint and student artist paint. There's somewhere in the middle. There is a company that I do know. They are sold at Minnigers, but they may be in other places. I think Michaels also sells their Academy. You can find a lot of these colors there with that palette. They may be off because they are a different brand, but that is the case with brand by brand comparisons. Mm-hmm. You literally do get slight variations because pigment powders come from various sources, and they're not all the same color hue.
Right.
So
that's definitely a thing that, I mean, it's like there's a depth that we could go into here with paints where we drop all the way down into certain pigments and certain concepts and certain designs.
Yeah. The only thing that I have to say is some of these colors you have to look up and make sure that they are not combo colors, because combination colors, that's usually where you're gonna get the hold up.
Well, that's why I put in the RGB values and the web value on them, because that would allow me to look it up through some paint companies have a website where you can just type in your RGB value and get, oh, well, that's, number 63, and, it's something like that. So allow you to get that value, which is the point behind putting all of that on there. So this, by the way, took me like 2 days. It took me an entire weekend to make this chart, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm like, yay, I figured it all out.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like a weekend's worth of work somewhere. Before, of course, I went to Texas, so there's that. But it's still cool. And I'll send it to you, and you can have it. And it'll be cool.
Yeah. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into... I'm going to make it into a color chart for my iPad.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is, once I set this up and actually put a series of paints together that match these and then make a palette, then I will take the just the left side of that where it has just the absolute colors and make an online palette for whenever I use any kind of watercolor stuff here on, on my monitor. Then I can have a set of watercolors that I'm one of those people that I get sort of paralyzed when I have too many options. And so I intentionally try to lock things down, because then I'm because my thought is, it's the same thing as I do with what I was just saying at the beginning of the show about writing. You can always have the option of saying, oh no, I really do need to specifically use this color, e.g. the color you made for the skin tone. That's obviously number 25 in my palette. But that doesn't, by limiting it down to 24. Well, hello, Richard. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Richard.
By limiting my palette down to 24 doesn't necessarily mean I can't use another color. So that is sort of a thing. But I know that if I don't lock myself down, then I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? I just get too overwhelmed with too many options, and then I just, So that's the whole point behind this, is that replacing all of these out and then putting these in as my 24 will help a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. So with the amount, like, I mean, on my professional palette that I have roughly, I have over 60 colors on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just too many.
But then, okay, so here's the deal, though. I know which ones I use the most because I have so many. And I also know which ones I can refill and which ones I have to go and buy paint for to refill. It makes it a lot easier. However, there's some colors which I only use maybe once in a blue moon.
Sure.
I mean, it's one of those moments where it's like, I might use that. Okay. But like, I said to Bill, I was like, since we got the stimmy money, like maybe I should go and try to get some of the paint on the Miyazaki palette, like.
Before I forget this, I'm going to send it to you because I'm going to forget it. And then you'll be like, you were supposed to send me a Miyazaki palette 100 years ago. And I'll be like, damn it. I'm so sorry.
That's so accurate. I sound like that.
I know, totally. That'd totally be what had happened. The best part is you sent me an email a little while back, so I could just reply to that. All I gotta do is just find you. There you are. Reply. And then say, Miyazaki palette. Because if I don't do this, I'm going to forget. I'm going to do this now. Okay. Then attach file, Miyazaki's watercolors. That's one thing that's really cool is, guy. There we go. Send. It's sending.
Gotcha.
I have done my work. So, Richard, we're talking about the Miyazaki's watercolor palette, which you can get at Studio Ghibli, the Studio Ghibli Museum, and Mitaka. And it looks just like this. We'll bring it up. So that's what this is right here. This kind of super. Oh, I can do that. And at least gets. I mean, okay. So it takes us out of the picture, but you can still hear us. But yeah, that's what we're talking about here. Is these are the colors. If you buy a watercolor set at the Studio Ghibli Museum in Mitaka, Japan, these are the colors that come in that set. I actually spent a weekend kind of trying to figure out, what we're doing with this. So, we're back into, So that's sort of what we're talking about at this moment, if you're wondering. So, and what I've been trying to do is get a set of colors because I recently got into watercolors and I love working in watercolors, but I needed to kind of come up with a set of colors that could cover me for anything I wanted to do. and as I was telling Pepper, I just couldn't, like, there were just too many options. There's millions of colors out there and I need to pick a handful to do paintings on it. I just couldn't remember. So anyway,
I can tell you right now, looking at that palette, if you wanted to simplify it, like, and turn it like half, you could.
Yeah, I think actually 24 is probably enough. Small enough to make me not feel overwhelmed and feel like I don't know what to do. So I feel like that's good. So I'm good with just finding and hunting down these 24 colors. I just have to do a couple of decision-making processes, like, do I want lavender or do I want violet gray? The lavender is a blue purple, and the violet gray is very much a red purple. And so, I mean, when I look at Viridian Hue versus green number 3, I don't see much difference between those two. Permanent green number 3.
Yeah, Viridian
green number 3 looks like it's a little bit more, a little warmer, and the Viridian Hue looks cooler. But bamboo green replaced cobalt green, and the bamboo green looks very close to the cadmium green, and the cobalt green replaced the cobalt green yellow shade is more of like an olive drab. Yeah. And so I might decide to go with the depreciated color of the olive drab because I could see doing olive drab more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I can assure you that the permanent green that I have in my palette, I barely use it.
Yeah.
I also have Holbein sap green, which is a much better green. Like, I love the green for some weird reason. Yeah. Like, when I think shamrock, I think that color.
Right.
So, but
Are you talking about permanent green number 3 or permanent green number 1? Because
Number
number
one.
one's a very bright green. Yeah.
Yeah, number one is definitely a shamrock color. But to achieve permanent green number two is a combination of.
Yeah, well, and they depreciated permanent green number 3 for Viridian hue.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I don't like Viridian. I think I actually am looking at the depreciated colors and liking them better. So, I mean,
Yeah.
looking at this, I like the permanent green number 3. It's a warmer green. So replacing the Viridian hue back. And then, of course, the bamboo green looks just like the cadmium deep green, which is close. And I like the olive drab better. I mean, it's a more versatile palette.
Yeah.
And then the lavender is like a blue gray, which looks closer to the cerulean blue than the violet gray. So I think I'd rather go with the violet gray. So I think I want to do the original palette. It looks like all 3 of the replaced colors, to me, I'm more interested in the depreciated ones, the ones they replaced. So I think I'm actually going to just do the original Miyazaki, because I'm going to be doing, whatever I find out there, paints to fit these colors now that I've got the RGB values. So
that's why I like Matthew's Urbanowitz. I like his discussion of what's up.
we were losing connectivity for a minute there.
Oh, okay. That's why I like his. That's why I like his explanation of the Miyazaki palette, because it's he breaks it down and then he makes the colors, so you actually see the colors being like combined and then put back onto the palette. He got a limited. What he did was, and it's kind of smart, is he limited his palette. He only got something that had 24 to 25 spaces or something like that. So he knew exactly which ones he needed to do.
Right. We had a lot of lag during that last part. I got enough of what you said to understand what you said, but it got a little brutal there.
I'm sorry about that. I am at
15%
battery.
Yeah, that's all right. We probably we could do an hour and a half today.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I mean, we're now just down to talking palettes and stuff. Hey, what are we doing for next week? I've got another Springs comic on Monday. I've got to finish illustration 8, which I probably will do over the weekend because it really just needs to have some gray tones put into it, and it's done. So another 30 minutes worth of work. It doesn't have a full show's worth of work. So next week, I'm going to roll into some other stuff, not the least of which is I've got covers to do, or at least plan out, so that I can give those to Airship 17 because they want color design sketches. So if you want to join me on a creative process next week, that's probably pretty much what we're going to do. And then once we clear Airship 27, I'm back on the idea of doing Watercolor Wednesdays with you. So we could do that as well.
Well, yeah, no, I definitely need to get back onto the watercolor making. So I got the painting, I got the pigments for my new palette that I wanted to make. So I basically I'm not going to focus on that fully, but obviously I have to do some more sketch cards. To basically finish those out for my for those, and then I have to finish the script and somehow figure out how to draw all of that.
I appreciate that, Brent. I'm glad you'll be here for that. That'd be cool. I think I lost Donald somewhere along the line. I'm not sure where we lost him, but I haven't seen him in a while.
I don't know if we've lost Donald or if we watch. Maybe my talk about everything just kind of annoyed him anyway.
I don't think so. We were doing good there. Although I did decide to kind of steer you off of it because I was like, yeah, it's getting too heavy for our show. So
Yeah.
it's much better for us to sit here and talk paints. It's
Very
more,
strong opinions. Very strong opinions.
and yeah, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with very strong opinions.
I really do need to start getting on the ball. I feel like I dropped a lot this week. So
Cool. Yeah, I lost a month, and so I'm still trying to recover from that. I'm still catching up, and it's so weird because I had started to roll up on actually doing things before I left for Texas, and that just put a whole chunk out there, and so it's maniacal trying to get back into the seat. But on this board right here, I only have 2 things left on it. And so that's a big plus. I mean, a lot of my long projects are about to go away. We still have to work all of Fred's stuff, and that's so sad because he's waited for a long time for all of that. But Fred's stuff, I'm just going to do it my way. I've been trying to do it to match the other artist in his book, and I really just don't think I can. And he was okay with that to begin with, and I said, no, I'll make this my challenge. And now I think all I have done is just blocked myself. So I'm just going to do it my way properly and make it look nice and elegant, and we'll be good. So
and on that note, my computer is about to die. So
that's all we got for today, and that's all we got for us. So we will see you later. Bye, Pep. And for all the rest of you guys, we'll see you next week. And keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye.